immerse yourself in rooms where you can learn from other people to help you grow.
And I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I've always been doing flying into archery, and my dad said, "Hey, you guys want to start an archery store?"
That's how I was.
Andrew, yes, of course. Let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. As usual, I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I'm joined by the amazing Ethan King, who is the CEO over at Stuff for Greeks and Zeus's Closet. Ethan, how you doing? You ready for a good show here?
Hey, thanks for having me, Andrew. Happy to be here. Doing great.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on the show. Your background is nuts, so I'm gonna love every minute of this. I always like to start off in a very stereotypical manner. Let you kind of have the stage here for a second. Let everyone know a little bit more about your background, where you started, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I guess my entryway into this was a school project that I started called Stuff for Greeks. It was just a branding project, and I had just pledged my fraternity and was this overzealous art major. And that ended up becoming a real company. And here we are 22 years later, and it's still one of the top providers of fraternity and sorority apparel across the country. And then along the way, we spun off and opened up a retail store, and we called it Zeus's Closet. So we kind of spun that off into its own brand so that we could, it's the same as a custom apparel, but we appeal to a different niche market where we do a lot of like school uniforms, business uniforms. But we also do really high end embroidery for the entertainment industry, like
Really?
TV, custom wardrobe type stuff. We've had rappers, entertainers wear these elaborate jackets that we've made, and they were even worn on the Grammys last year. So
Wow.
it's been a fun journey, but yeah, I've been doing entrepreneurship for 20 years now, and of course, we were actually that school project was 99, so we're talking about the early days of the web and e-commerce.
Yeah.
So I was like hand coding HTML back then.
Nice. Promoting your MySpace page.
All
Awesome.
right. Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. You've been doing it for that long. There's not many people that we have on the show that have been around doing any kind of e-commerce that long, because even back then it really wasn't a thing. So obviously, you were a first mover in the space, which is always fantastic. But even if you disregard that, customization is a bitch. Like it's not an easy space. Like it is, there's so many nuances, there's so many SKUs, there's so much that you've got to manage. So like from an operational perspective, like obviously my favorite thing, we're going to get into the marketing in a second, but like from an operational side, how did you get it to where it is? How did you kind of put those processes in place? Because I know customization is, it can be a nightmare if you're not staying like well organized.
Yeah, the beauty of it is everyone's done something. I always look ahead. I always look behind and say, well, who's done this before me that I can kind of like copy their style or their processes? And it doesn't always have to be in your space. So I actually looked at Dell Computers, because they offer customizable computers, but
Yeah.
they're obviously worth multiple billions of dollars. So they figured out a way to standardize the customization process. So I literally read Michael Dell's book, and I just took that same concept and applied it to the apparel space. So you can customize within these different frameworks, within these different templates. And then we have the processes that we've documented for, each level of customization. So
Yeah.
that way, even though like I was the artist starting out doing everything from start to finish, from sketches to all the way to stitches and going out the door, I've been
Yeah.
able to train other artists because we have all the SOPs documented with videos, and and so they're able to embrace the style. So it feels like it's still the same person doing it, even though I rarely actually do the work myself now.
Yeah, that's good. Very good point. I mean, the power of I'm obviously preaching the choir here, but the power of SOPs is it's pretty nice. It's one of those things, like, I'm always very intrigued by the businesses that we speak to that just don't have anything like that in process, and it's just constant retraining and starting everything over, and that concept is just nuts. But the one thing, obviously, I want to pivot real quick because I don't want to disregard a lot of the other stuff that you do outside of these two brands. Like, you're an author, you're a podcast host. I believe you've done TED Talks. So
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about, like, obviously, you're kind of developing yourself as kind of like in that influencer space from an entrepreneurship side. Like, what's that looking like?
Yeah, it kind of happened organically, maybe starting about 10 years or so ago. I'm a big advocate of, immerse yourself in rooms where you can learn from other people to help
Yeah.
you grow. You got to elevate yourself. So I got involved with things like EO Entrepreneurs Organization, got in some leadership roles there. Found myself speaking on a stage when it was very uncomfortable for me to do so, but I like to exercise muscles. If I feel like weak in a certain area, I like to try to just put myself in uncomfortable situations and exercise those muscles, because that's where the magic happens, right? Outside of your comfort zone. Well, in doing that, I ended up doing a lot more speaking, and then that led to publishing the book. My first book, Wealth Beyond Money, came out 2 years ago. I was very fortunate; it did well in the marketplace. Hit bestseller status in 50 different categories on Amazon.
Wow.
Number one in three of those categories, which was really cool. And now I'm actually just finishing up my next book, which is called Chat GPT to Double Your Business in 90 Days. So I'm always been about automation and processes way before ChatGPT. I mean, that's like the buzzword from the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But back in like 2011, we had a situation where our backs were against the wall. We were running on paper thin margins. We got slapped with a lawsuit. We were having to fight all these things. I was like, I got to figure out how to survive here. So I had to learn marketing automation way back then. And now AI has only amplified it. So I teach AI workshops all around the world. And I teach businesses in any space, not just e-commerce, but how you can leverage AI to do the work. You can do things now with one person that would have taken you a whole team or an agency to do
Oh
just
yeah.
2 or 3 years ago.
I'd like to take a moment from today's episode to thank our sponsors, Revenued. Unlike traditional lenders, Revenued provides working capital to SMBs that is based on your revenue, not your personal credit score. With Revenued's FlexLine, draw funds in a click of a button and only pay for what you use. Also, there's no application, maintenance, or draw fees. Applying is easy. Go to Revenued.com and get a decision in as fast as an hour. Join thousands of business owners who choose Revenued for their working capital needs. Again, that's Revenued.com.
So fantastic segue. Obviously, really wanted to touch on that. I did not know that was the next book you were working on, though, which is fantastic. So the AI thing, what is your thoughts on it at a high level? There's a lot of brands I know that have really taken it and they're just like doing everything they can with it. There's others that are like, this is a fad and it's going to pass over time. I also know that, ChatGPT is pretty much kind of the clear front runner of all of them, but there's a ton of other ones out there. And some of them, like, every platform now says that it has AI, when in reality, it's just like an if then statement or something like that. So what's at a high level for the industry in itself? Like, what are your thoughts on
Whew, man, how deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go? I have so many thoughts. Well, first of all, anyone who thinks AI is just a passing fad is gravely mistaken. I mean, that's like someone in 1995 saying, "Oh, the internet's just a fad." I mean, which you did have people who thought that, but
Yeah.
obviously, it's woven into our everyday lives so much now that we don't even think about it. It's like air, and that's how AI is going to go. It's already kind of going that way. It's accelerating at such a fast pace, that it's just going to evolve so quickly. It's going to blow our minds. Like your AI, one of the first things I teach with ChatGPT, because most people actually don't do this, is you need to customize it to have your brand voice, whether it's coming from
Mm-hmm.
you as a person or from your company brand voice. You really need to take the time to train it on how to speak and how to write like you by feeding it a bunch of samples and having it write a prompt for your custom instructions and then put that in your chat gpt. Most people don't do that. You can tell it's generic like AI when you see all
Yeah.
the emojis and the title case and all that, right?
Yeah.
Um, but what's going to happen at a high level is you won't, your AI will know you so well, it'll know you better than you know yourself. And then it will be able to make decisions for you. And the next phase of this is agents, where your AI will be able to just act on your behalf. Like your AI will know how much milk you drink, and then it will just go order more of it for you from Instacart, and the milk will just appear in your refrigerator. I mean, it's like it will think for you because it knows you that well. But so that's why I teach people to get the most out of AI now. Go ahead and train it to sound like you, to think like you, to know your background, know your interests, know about your business, know about your hobbies. Because the more you can do that, then the better output and results you're going to get from it.
It's very interesting. So you spend most of your time, at least in the beginning, teaching it what you want over the course of time, and then it just turns into like almost like an assistant. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, imagine
Beautiful.
if you have an assistant. I mean, like you see those movies of back in the 50s where the guy would just be standing there dictating to his secretary, right?
Yeah.
And but if that secretary, let's think about it, in that sense, if you work with if that secretary works with you for years and they start to know your brand voice, and as you're dictating they can write like you, that's almost like how it is if you train your chat gbt in the right way. It can,
Yeah.
if you train it well, and I mean it can hold a lot of information, it can sound almost indistinguishable from you.
Yeah. So in terms of how you're leveraging it for stuff for Greeks and Zeus's Closet, obviously, you've trained it up to this point. So how are you leveraging AI now for the two brands?
Yeah, so the easiest path, the first thing we do is the content marketing, right?
Yeah.
So speeding up things like writing blog posts, articles, email newsletters, designing out email drip campaigns, helping beef up product descriptions, things like that. Even responding to emails. A lot of the things that we would say over and over again or take the time to type out, we can just quickly put it in a GPT and have it do an auto response that it'll put in our email drafts, and then we can read through it, make sure it sounds correct, put any other details in there, and hit send. So it's a huge time saver in that regard. It's a huge boost to our content marketing. Um, let's see what else. Yeah, I mean those are the main. Oh, social media. Social media is huge. So one thing I teach in the book and in my talks is how to go from take your long form content, like your long videos, like you could do this podcast, and then chop it up into smaller content using AI, like Opus Clip, things like that. So I teach a process where if you do it in the right order, you could really post on every social media channel every single day, and it really should only take you about 15 minutes of work if you're doing
Wow.
it right.
So you're leveraging, so you're creating longer pieces of content, let's say like this podcast, throwing it into an AI platform, letting it chop it up, and then now you've got your social creative for the foreseeable future. And then you just kind of rinse and repeat that process. Am I right?
Exactly. But on top of that, you also have now, because you have transcripts, that's meat that you can use and put in your AI to generate long form written content as well. So
Yeah.
those are your blogs, your newsletters, your articles that you can publish. You can go on Haro, help a reporter out. You can find reporters that are looking for certain articles. You can
Mhm.
use your transcripts to help write those articles, because now your chat GPT knows about you. It speaks like you anyway, so it can help you write articles and save a bunch of time that way. It can help you write press releases. So not just your video, your long form video content, your long form written content, then your short form video content by chopping up the long form video content, and your short form written content, your tweets, your Instagram threads, things like that. Then you can take those, pop them in. You can do a batch import into Canva and generate a bunch of images with your quotes and your tweets and things like that to repurpose
Yeah.
on social media.
Beautiful. I love that. What's your thought on the content creation side from a creative aspect? Like letting AI create imagery and video by giving it its own prompts. My opinion, I've seen it like like it's not the best thing. Sometimes it
Yeah.
kicks out stuff that's just hilarious, but it's not really effective. Have you found kind of like that sweet spot from a creative perspective?
Yeah, you got to know when to use it. The technology isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
Even with like Midjourney version 6 that can generate these photorealistic images, there's still something a little bit off in every photo. Like you might look in the background of the photo and there's a girl with 8 fingers or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can tell when something's AI generated. So it's fun to use though in the right application, but don't try to pass it off as like a real photo. It's not a replacement for like stock photos or videos or anything like that. But if you're doing something fun, like I used it to do my book cover because it's appropriate, right? For
Yeah.
ChatGPT to double your business in 90 days, it's appropriate that I used AI to generate the cover,
Yeah.
or in my presentations or anything light like that. But if you try to pass it off as like a real image, it's not going to fly.
Yeah. Did you use ChatGPT to write the book?
I did. I use it to help me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
Awesome.
a lot of people on Instagram will say, "Oh, you can get ChatGPT to write the whole book for you." Don't do that. I mean,
Yeah, it's not gonna come
you
out good.
can make it write a lot, but it's going to make up a lot of fluff and
Yeah.
people can tell. However, just like a human assistant, I believe there's nothing wrong. In fact, I encourage you to have an assistant to help you write. Look at the
Yeah.
top writers in the world. Tom Clancy doesn't sit down and write all his novels. He has a writer's room. Shonda Rhimes, all these TV shows, movie producers. It's a team of people who contribute to producing written pieces. So if you don't have a team, now you have an assistant in ChatGPT, as long as it is trained and has the background information to deliver things authentically. And
Yeah.
I also tell people like make sure like don't just have AI write for you. Give it your own actual stories and anecdotes and experiences to incorporate into the writing so that you're still being authentic because you want to be ethical about it.
Yeah. Like our approach to that point is kind of like, we'll leverage several different AI platforms when writing content and stuff, but like I find you still have to have that subject matter expert to kind of be able to review things and edit and kind of tweak, because no matter how much you treat these, ChatGPT is a little bit different. ChatGPT, sometimes the stuff that thing kicks out is like, okay, this is creepy. It's awesome. Some of
Yeah.
the other ones, it's like, all right, let's clean this up a little bit, kind of thing. But I know sometimes with ChatGPT, like you mentioned, like you can kind of hit a wall with how much it's willing to write and how much you can actually get out of it. But the amount that they're continuing to grow with it is insane. So I'm sure that'll surpass. But when it comes back to stuff for Greeks and Zeus's Closet, how are you kind of leveraging that to kind of put this content creation on autopilot? Like I know, you've got a book coming out. You've been doing speaking engagements. You've got your own podcast. You've got 2 different brands. Like there's no way in hell you're sitting down pumping out all this content all the time. So how are you kind of automating that process throughout?
So we have a couple of VAs. So we've really, especially post COVID, we have really decentralized our operations as much
Mm-hmm.
as possible. So we have specific VAs for different tasks, and they're in different countries around the world. Um, so, like, for example, I have one who handles all the content, but she's using ChatGPT. They're all using AI in some form to accelerate their output as well. So it's like each of our team members is given a supercharge from AI to do more of their jobs faster. So
Yeah.
we're able to do more with less.
Beautiful. What's the game plan, right? Like you've got a lot of different stuff going on, but specifically for like stuff for Greek Zeus's Closet, like what's the goal? Are you thinking of, turning it into a franchise model, at least for the retail outlet? Like where are you planning on taking these brands?
Yeah. So the goal now, it's funny you asked that because at first we were, we actually franchised at Zeus's Closet and we were planning on growing in that direction. And
Mm-hmm.
then the pandemic hit and it was like, just boom, of course.
Yeah.
And then we were like, man, brick and mortar retail is not the space we want to be in anymore. So now it's really all about designing these online stores that we can host for other people and handle their back end fulfillment. So here in Atlanta, we have a lot of
Interesting.
people who come to us who are starting their own clothing line, and we help them. We sit down with them and do a strategy session, learn about their brand, learn the best approach, the best clothing to put their logo on, and do all the design work. Then we do their prototypes. And then after that, we design their online store, which we host for them. We handle all the customer service and all the fulfillment for them, and we do a revenue share model. And then as that grows, like a lot of people are just happy with that. All they have to do is do the
Yeah.
marketing, get people to come to the site. They don't have to touch it. They just get money. But then some people want to go to the next level and they say, okay, I'm ready to get my apparel like mass produced in China or Sri Lanka and get it, because now that's the next more advanced level where they're ready to have a bunch of inventory because they know at that point that their product is hot in the marketplace. They
Yeah.
have some buzz around it. So that's where we want to continue helping brands grow in that capacity. And whether it's a clothing line or you're a rap label or you started your own fraternity, whatever your cause or your mission is, we want to support you in all of those ways, with clothing being the foundation, but really helping you with all of your business and marketing and growth needs, even teaching our clothing line success people about AI and things like that, and having workshops and conferences and things. So
Yeah.
that's where we see the brand going in the future.
It's a very interesting model. So it's almost like you're almost building out a franchise of like D2C sites as opposed to actual brick and mortar. And it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it does sound like a great way to actually prove like the viability of a new brand being created before they go and like, order a ton of inventory. They can kind of like test the market with a couple things before jumping into a significantly larger order. Is that more or less the model there?
That is 100% the model. And because that's how I've always done things in business, sell it first and then build it and then figure it out.
Yeah.
Legit. Like I remember our first, so I remember I told you that Stuff for Greeks was a school project,
Yeah.
and it just kind of sat out there on the web for a couple of years after the semester was done. But then we started to get like real phone calls and real people would fill out the form for interest. And at first, all I did was design jackets. I was a graphic designer, so I would does not do the layout for your sorority jacket, and I'll send it to you, and you go get it made in your city. Well,
Yeah.
then this girl was like, "Well, no, I want you to make the jacket." It's like, I don't know how to make jackets. I'm not a seamstress or whatever you call it. I didn't know even know what it was called, right?
Yeah.
And then someone else said, "No, I want you to make the jacket. I don't have anybody to make it. I want you to make it." So enough people kept asking, and we finally said yes. And I remember this girl paid us like $200 to make her jacket, and I had no clue how to do it. But I was like, "Well, she's paid me, so now I have to figure out how to actually get this jacket made and ship it to her." So I'm a big believer in sell it first. That's the true test in the marketplace, when someone actually pulls out their credit card and pays for something, because
Yeah.
someone can say they want to buy something all day, but
Yeah.
until they actually pay,
Absolutely.
you don't know. So when it comes back to the apparel and the clothing lines, I see so many people make the mistake of just going off of emotion and thinking, "Oh, this product, I know this idea is so hot." And then
Mm-hmm.
they invest $10,000, $20,000 and get a crate of stuff from China, and then it doesn't sell. And you have a garage full of product that just collects dust. So
Exactly.
you got to grow the right way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ethan, this was great. I really appreciate your time. I don't want to take up too much more. I know you're super busy. You've got a ton of stuff going on, but I'd love to give you the opportunity, let everyone know where they can find out more about Zeus's Closet, everything that you got going on, the whole nine.
Sure. Probably the main place to go is to my website, ethanking.com, where you can find out about everything I'm working on. Zeus's Closet, Zeus, like the Greek god, closet. We're on all the social media networks, and we're at zeuscloset.com. And if you're in a fraternity or sorority, if you know someone who is and wants to get the most advanced, hottest custom Greek wear available, That is stuff4greeks.com, the number 4.
Beautiful. Ethan, thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you do the usual and rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or head over to ecommshow.com to check out all of our previous episodes. But as usual, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the E-Comm Show.